Welcome to Love and Dialogue, the podcast where love speaks. I'm Tristan.
And I'm Breanna. We're so excited to have you join us as we explore the ups, downs, and all the in-betweens of relationships in all forms, whether it's with a partner, a friend, or family.
Whether you're here for heartfelt stories, honest advice, or just a good laugh, you're in the right place.
Relationships come in all varieties and dynamics, and we're on this journey together, sharing our experiences and learning along the way.
Every week, we dive into real conversations about what it takes to build and nurture meaningful connections in our lives.
So let's dive in together and see where this love-filled journey takes us, no matter what kind of relationship you're navigating.
Thanks for tuning in to Love and Dialogue. Let's get started. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to Love and Dialogue with your host, Tristan.
And I'm Breanna.
What do we got for the folks today?
All right. I think today we are going back to one of our usuals, which is playing a game, except this is not really like a game. It's more like just an open conversation. It's called Table Topics. So we're going to utilize this to have, again, some meaningful dialogue today.
Well, we always let the ladies go first.
Okay.
What's the first question?
Let's see. What's the best decision we have ever made?
Well, the best decision, I'm going to say that we came together and you got me out my comfort zone to go travel. And ever since then, I've always wanted to just do something different.
Yeah. Traveling for sure. Traveling is easily the best decision we've ever made. I guess I just think in general, honestly, if we go back, just us going back on, what was that dating app called?
Bumble.
Yeah. I say that's the best decision we ever made.
And like funny to her, I haven't told you, it's like I had reinstalled it maybe like 2 weeks before we came across each other's paths.
Yeah.
Randomly. So I was definitely faith and destined to be, because I had went up to go see my mom and she was like, all right, go pick up some Chipotle. And that's literally how, because you weren't even in that area, right? You were just visiting your mom.
No, I had just moved back with my mom, I think. I can't remember the timeline. No, that was like 2018, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So no, I was living with my mom and I had been living with her for a while at that point.
Gotcha.
Yep. So we lived in Clarksburg and yeah. So
just randomly didn't even really run into each other, but I guess because our phones kind of like pinged off the same tower.
I mean, well, we were clearly literally in the same place at the same time, which is wild. So yes.
I didn't even live in the area. That's the thing. I was just visiting my mom that day.
That's wild. Talk about fate. Yeah. So what we're talking about, guys, is how we met or how we reconnected with one another. We knew each other. We lived across the street from each other in Clarksburg, and we used to hang out at the gazebo and talk all night. But then he went to Ocean City and never came back. That's my favorite thing to say, because you did. You were gone for like how long?
7, 8 years. But like through that time, I felt like that even though we had came across each other's paths, right? You went off to college, I went off to college.
Mhm.
I felt like within that time, we were able to go find ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Do a lot of maturing, and then faith put us back on the same path, but we were able to learn a lot of lessons along the way and do a lot of living, a lot of growing, a lot of experience, understand what we like, what we don't like, what we want in a partner, what we don't want in a partner. And then by the time it was all those lessons were learned and we fell back at each other's path, and it just felt like it has been like a seamless transition within our relationship, and things are just super easy to go through. I mean, obviously we have our challenges, but because we have those lessons that we learned down the path or down the road, it has paved the way for us to where we are today. So
yeah, no, 100%. So I guess the best decision ever was downloading Bumble.
Shout out Bumble. Thank you.
We are a success story.
Next question. What's the hardest paper or assignment that you completed in school?
So this might be easier for you since you're like doing the whole school thing like right now. I haven't been in school. I graduated in 2018. So I would say my hardest paper was the paper I had to write to graduate, which was like 20 pages long. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely the hardest. Well, okay, that's not actually fair for me to say because the way the class was broken up, you literally were writing the paper at like throughout the entire class, so that made
Okay.
it a little bit easier. But that's the most I've ever written in my entire life. It was like 20 pages long. So I would say that was my hardest assignment. But then also, if I think about too, we had to take statistics for
Mm,
like I can't even think of the proper term now. That's how far removed I'm from school. And yeah, not going back anytime soon right now. But yes. So the point of the matter is that yeah, statistics was terrible as well. So anything I did in that class was absolutely terrible and I didn't like it
just
and I
making
would
up on
never want to
time.
do it again. Yeah, research methods, all of
Yeah,
that, creating
that's
your
tough.
studies, least favorite thing. And I'm a therapist and I've been a therapist for some time now and I cannot say that I use any of that.
Statistics.
Statistics, no, I'm not creating studies.
Right.
Maybe one day I will, I don't know, but right now, no, I'm not doing it. So
Well, it prepares you in case you go get that doctorate.
yeah.
So, you have to conduct your studies, go your hypothesis ready to go. But for me, as you said, I'm currently in school. And it's not even this master's that has, I would say, has given to answer that question. It's really the first one. When I was doing human resources management,
Mhm.
there was a class called or financial decision making for managers.
Okay.
And the end project was one of the hardest projects that I've ever been a part of because one, it was a group project.
Mhm.
You had to do an executive summary. And mind you, my background is psychology. So to learn financial equations and future values and being able to, because it's one of those situations, if you mess up one part of the problem, the
Mm,
whole thing is messed up.
yeah.
So like, I mean, granted, I had Excel, so that helped, but it was one of the toughest projects I had to put together, especially with 4 other people, and none of us had backgrounds in finance. So that was probably like the hardest project. Like right now, the brunt is pretty much papers, but I won't say they are as hard as that one. And I got an A on that. So kudos to the team. But
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. But yeah, the fact that you did all of that and then you decided to go back to school again is wild.
yeah, because honestly, because of working in HR, I understood how things were gonna be created down the road when it comes from to a salary perspective. Having 2 masters crazy. My wife just go get the PhD, but because I did human resources, that pays dividend in understanding management from a personnel standpoint, but also having the cybersecurity gives me a technical because the human resources administrative. So when it comes time for pay scale, they're going to be like, well, you have an administrative degree and a technical professional. So I cut out that piece by just getting another master's. But yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's definitely balanced. I
yeah,
understand. It makes sense. Just the fact that you're actually doing it, right? I think
yeah.
for me, like I said, I'm so far removed from school. I help you, right? I guide you, but to actually go back and do the work. And I just think we're also different too. Like anxiety is real for me. And so I used to get anxious about all my assignments and like getting things done, like important and making sure that I was doing things on time,
Yeah.
right? So I would be starting things early. So school was like my life, you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like you have a better balance of it, which
And it's like one of those, there's no blueprint. Like when
yeah,
they talk about life, there's no blueprint for it. You just get things done. And you reflect back and you're like, wow, I did all that. But when you're in the moment, you're kind of just doing it. It's
yeah,
not really like, oh, this is how you need to do stuff. Now, if you set yourself up for success, it makes it a lot easier. Where at times I procrastinate.
yeah,
So sometimes you're like, I got something due on Sunday. I'm doing it Saturday. So, I put a lot of that pressure. But I think, like you said, I found that balance. I found it's become easy
yeah,
because of honestly the first masters. The first masters made this one a lot easier because it was a lot of writing. There's a lot of writing intensive in the human resources side because you're just looking at case studies and you're building a framework of how to work through certain situations and scenarios that come up. Where in cybersecurity is like, how am I working through risk mitigation? How am I standing things up and making sure they're secured? How am I able to relay that to executives? So it's more of just writing at a different degree, I guess, more of like who the audience is going to. So,
yeah.
yeah, this is definitely easier than human resources,
Well, that's
but
good.
it's a lot. It's a lot of writing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of writing.
You know, it's funny because you said something that made me rethink my answer, honestly, because you said like when you look back on it, you don't understand like how you did it. You just know that you just pushed through and you did it. And when I think now that you said that, my practicum and internship. That was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, because I was working full time basically. I had to get all of my hours. So I was literally working the whole day and then going, to see clients after in their homes. I was traveling all over. I was in schools, I was in the home, I was in the
That's a
office.
lot.
I mean, and there was no telehealth at that time. I get on my soapbox about this every single time, but there was no telehealth. I was literally bouncing from place to place, going to people's homes. My first therapy session ever was in my car. So, like, you know, yeah, you just brought that back up for me. So, thank you for that. It's like, no,
So how did you go about the balance piece? Like, how were you able? It sounds like that was a lot on the work side. So how were you taking care of your personal side?
I was young. I was younger. What was that? I was 24, 25. So it just didn't it was just something I had already done, right? So undergrad was not too far behind. I think it took a year and a half off between undergrad and my grad school. So it didn't feel like too foreign to kind of be in that working space and
Mhm.
having to go to all the classes and having all of that balance. So I felt like it was still ingrained in me a little bit. Whereas now, again, like I said, it's totally far removed from me to like be in that lifestyle.
Yeah,
So I think that that was what was helpful for me. So yeah, I just did
sure.
it. Yeah.
You made me think of like just hearing you talk about like your introduction into just the workforce in your industry, right? And I'm thinking um the biggest piece of a person's career or the hardest piece of a person's career, I think is the entry level piece because everything else after that is politics and learning how to uh maximize on opportunities that come across your way. But literally, you're literally dropping yourself into a corporate environment after
Mhm.
just being in like college or like, going to community college, something of those sorts. And then
Mhm.
to throw yourself into a work environment, that's like a whole different animal in itself. And then to deal with the people at that level, there's a lot of older folks, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of, seniority when it comes to stuff. So then you got to navigate the challenges of, oh, I'm coming in and I'm bringing all this energy, all this like striving for success, but you have to now play politics and like how you're not ruffling feathers. How can you use your environment to help you get to where you need? So there's a lot that goes into like
Yeah.
corporate corporate
It's a
industry.
lot, and then you spend, 4 years or however long it takes you to finish your degree to come out to really struggle with finding even an entry level job. I can remember when I first graduated and how, like, I applied for months to try to get jobs in corporate America, as you would say, and I ended up having to kinda go back to what I had done before, which was working with kids and, being a teacher, and so I started off as an assistant teacher and then worked myself up all the way up to a director, and then I was like, "Oh, okay, well, now I'm gonna go," and then I was doing that while I was doing my master's at the same time. So it's just to your point, it's a lot harder than I think they teach you in school to kind of integrate into the workforce and start that, especially in the entry level, and then yeah, growing from there is a whole process in itself. And I am happy that I have done that already.
Definitely an easier part.
Working for sure. And it's definitely on the smoother sailing side now. But yeah, it takes a lot and you have to be dedicated. It takes consistency. It takes really knowing what you want to do and what you're going after, even if it's not exactly what you want to do per se, or it's not aligning specifically with your goals, at least committing to something and following through with it is the only way that you're really going to be able to make any of those moves or changes that you hope to make later on in life.
Fair point. I
Yeah.
know. Those are some strong points you just made.
Yeah.
Want to do another question?
Sure. Let's see. What quote do you try to live by?
You can't have $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic.
Hmm. Okay.
That's a quote I live by. It's even on my Instagram.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing, it came from I'm a Washington Commanders fan. So there's this guy. He's not doing so well, but he's working his way. He's figuring out all his trials and tribulations. At this point, it's like football adversity. But his name's Jamin Davis. He's a linebacker slash DN on the Commanders. And when he was a rookie, he came in and was like, you can't have $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic. And I was in the time of like working my way from human resources into the IT field. And like during that, like I really was busting my tail. I was working 5 hours for HR, 5 hours for human resources. I mean, granted, all that's paved the way, so now I'm in cybersecurity, but like during that time, I really held on to that quote to get me through those times because it was tough.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, I was working 2 hours overtime every day, but like I put a lot of like physical labor hours into two sides where I was phenomenal on both ends. I met record numbers on my HR side, mind you, just working 5 hours a day. And then I was able to ramp up my organization that's like a little bit over 10,000 folks. We had to get interns, stuff, systems ready. So I
Mm.
was building, deploying, imaging, all that kind of stuff for like well over 700 plus interns. So to be a part of all of that and work through, that's the quote that kind of held me strong and like gave me the vision of where I wanted to be to this day. So
Yeah. No, I mean, mine kind of is on the same wavelength as that. Is success is a marathon, not a sprint.
okay,
And that kind of connects to what you were saying because I feel like, again, we get into these spaces and we want to get to where we want to get fast, right? We have those goals, we see what we want and we see the end goal and we don't want it to take forever. We want it to be quick. We want it the results as fast as possible. But the reality of it is 9 times out of 10, you have to take it slowly. It takes one step at a time. It takes, really learning what you want to focus on one and then really diving into that is a whole nother process in itself. So I feel like you have to just be dedicated, I think. And so that quote just reminds you to just, it almost like grounds me sometimes of like, the reality is that I am moving at the pace I'm supposed to be moving. And if I'm supposed to be moving faster, I would be moving faster, right? You're supposed to be where you're supposed to be.
yeah,
And I think sometimes like those kind of moments in these quotes help ground you and where you are and help you reflect on kind of where you've been and where you're going next.
true. Well, that's solid.
Yeah.
So the same vision, same type of mantra of the core of what we're trying to get. So those are some powerful quotes
Yeah.
that we live by. And I don't think I've ever heard you say that. I don't know if you ever heard me say that.
No.
And
It's
there's that wavelength thing that we always talk about, that unison.
mhm. And I don't think it's something we've ever had to say. I think it's just how we live,
Yeah,
naturally. I feel like I tell you all the time, like, slow down. It's
yeah.
time's
You and my
coming.
manager. It's 2025. It's the gratification,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. That's yeah, that's what's wrong with the world. But that's another conversation.
What aspect of your current life would you have been least likely to predict 10 years ago?
Least likely to predict 10 years ago. I feel like that's a hard question for me to answer because 10 years ago, I was in my master's degree and they asked you the same question every single time you went into a room with someone. What's your plan? What do you hope to be? Where do you want to go after you graduate? And it was, again, I've said this before, of my plan of kind of where I wanted to go and the steps I was going to make. So the fact, I guess maybe it's more surprising that I actually did it. And like I'm here and I'm living in like those steps that I said repeatedly of working in the schools and doing private practice and becoming a supervisor and all of those things. I'm living it right now. So I feel like that's would be surprising, but also not surprising because I'm just happy that I followed through on my plan and my goals.
Yeah. You sound more in line than me. I was 23 10 years ago, and I was working as a bartender
Okay.
down in Ocean City,
Mm,
and I didn't have a vision.
no.
I was just like, I'm just gonna party every weekend.
Mm,
I'm gonna go out with my coworkers, and we're just gonna rinse, wash, repeat
yeah.
until like the season's over. Um, yeah, looking back 10 years ago to where I am today, like
Night and day.
I've done a lot. Yeah, definitely not in day. And like it's almost shocking. Like I have to pinch myself sometimes. It's like, did I really create this? Did I really push hard to get there? But honestly, outside of hard work, I really couldn't say I was there without my mentors. So shout out to my mentors that have helped me passively and directly, and then mainly those around me that giving me opportunities to show my success. I've definitely I've been vocal to help those things kind of happen, but I always tell folks, if you bet on me, I'm not going to let you down. And when I go in my interviews, I'm saying, if you give me a chance, I promise you'll get a big ROI on me because I'm all about, go, 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 get things done. And that's really what the game in corporate America is about, like getting things done and how efficiently can you get things done. So like to look and see all that I paved, and now I'm mentoring folks. I'm hearing conversations about, being a potential supervisor in the cybersecurity industry, to think about, I'm just slinging drinks a couple 10 years ago to like now I'm in big meetings with folks that, wear suits. So it's like it's a whole different vibe. So, it's cool, it's different. But I will say, a lot of the successes that I have with my communication definitely come from my time working in the industry, because I used to be a very shy guy and I didn't really like was go out my comfort zone or anything. So like to be in fine dining, working in different tiers of the restaurant industry and different levels has definitely paved my communication part of my career and skill sets to what I'm able to do now. Like people are like, how are you able to handle this conflict? I was like, you try going down Ocean City during Memorial Day weekend working, and if you can handle that volume, you can handle anything else in life.
Yeah, no, you're definitely the calm within the storm for sure, especially out of us. I am not good in those well, that's not fair for me to say as well. I do well in crises, like, because I deal with crises in my job. Those crises, I feel like I can be calm, cool, and collected, but, like, crises at home, it's a little bit different, and I panic a little bit more, and you're more of the kind of, like, "It's fine," or the more action-oriented person when we need it, because I don't always have that space for me. So that's helpful, but yeah, I think so. Yeah, I guess we give kudos to Ocean City and the time that you shared there because
Yes,
yes, but I also feel that that leads to your breakdowns too, and why you don't want to go into places that have a lot of people as well.
I have PTSD because also Memorial Day weekend, or just like in a resort town, there's a strong influx of folks that come in,
Yeah.
and I'm just saying, excuse me, and like no one wants to move, no one's around the way, everything's elbow to elbow, and it's just like it's not fun. I'm not having not having fun. And I look forward to when I could go back behind my bar and I can make a little circle with my arms out, not to hit anybody. So simple pleasures. So I mean, hey, it's a cool game. Table topics, questions to start great conversation. So
Yes. I think this is also the date night version as well. So
it
they
is.
have different types. I think, and you know what's funny too is I even have this, and I use this in therapy with my kiddos that I work with, because there's some that are directed towards just like, therapy questions and asking just about life and helping them process different things. So this is a pretty cool collection they've got going
I
here.
think you gave another tidbit to therapists out there that
Yeah.
may watch us. Table topics, give
Table
it a try.
topics is a good one for sure.
Well, we thank you guys for tuning into Love and Dialogue today, yet again with your host Tristan.
And I'm Brianna.
Till next time.